Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Today we're embarking on an extraordinary historical journey, really, into one of the most compelling and enigmatic artifacts known to humanity, the Shroud of Turin.
That's right.
Just picture a piece of ancient linen bearing this faint, haunting image of a man with marks, well, marks eerily consistent with crucifixion.
It's incredibly striking when you see it, even in photographs.
Exactly.
Yes.
And this isn't just some relic. It's a profound intersection of, nearly 2 millennia of human history.
Yeah.
Shifting empires, intense religious fervor, and of course, cutting-edge scientific inquiry.
Absolutely. Our mission today is to trace this winding path, to follow the shroud from its earliest mentions, or perhaps, whispers in the Holy Land, through the tumultuous apostolic age.
Yeah.
Across the heart of the Byzantine Empire and right into its modern-day resting place. We'll try to uncover the key moments, the enduring mysteries, and the remarkable scientific discoveries that have shaped its story.
And we're doing this with an academic lens, really aiming for an adult level of understanding.
Exactly. Trying to stick to the evidence.
Our sources for this deep dive are, essentially, a critical summary of historical evidence. We're meticulously charting a timeline from those gospel narratives of Jesus' burial cloths all the way to the shroud's first, undisputed public exposition in Europe.
And we're particularly focused, aren't we, on historical data prior to 1355?
Yes, with a keen eye on evidence pointing to its significant presence in Constantinople by, 1203.
That's the period. It's crucial.
You'll see how often unexpected historical events, some seemingly completely unrelated, played a pivotal role in the Shroud saga, how it became known, understood, or sometimes it seems deliberately obscured.
It's fascinating. We'll illuminate some surprising connections and delve into that interplay between faith, power, and meticulous scientific inquiry.
It's a story that truly challenges assumptions, I think,
Yeah.
and deepens our understanding of how history itself is preserved and well perceived.
It really does.
Let's unpack this incredible story starting right at the very beginning with the foundational narrative. So our journey into the Shroud's potential history begins with the most fundamental event, the crucifixion, death, and burial of Jesus of Nazareth, commonly dated to Friday, April 3, 33 AD.
Right. This isn't just a theological starting point. It's where a physical object, a burial cloth, actually enters the narrative.
And the canonical Gospels consistently speak to this. Matthew chapter 27, verses 57 to 60. It recounts Joseph of Arimathea taking Jesus' body, wrapping it in clean linen, and laying it in a new tomb.
Before rolling a huge stone over the entrance, it establishes the very basis for such a cloth existing, doesn't it? A crucial detail, often overlooked in its simplicity, maybe.
And then you look at John's Gospel chapter 20, verses 1 to 5. The linen burial cloth is prominently mentioned again. On Sunday morning, Mary Magdalene discovers the stone removed. Peter and the other disciple then run to the tomb, and what do they see? The burial cloth there, and a separate cloth that had covered his head.
So 2 distinct items mentioned there.
Exactly. Think about that, the foundational narratives of Christianity. This linen isn't just some footnote. It's a prominent, almost, you could say, character-like detail.
Explicitly mentioned in both Matthew and John. Yeah.
It sets an expectation for a physical object to exist right from the start of the Christian story. That's a rare specificity, I think, for such an ancient artifact. It's a profound narrative foundation for something like the Shroud.
This foundational narrative then directly sets the stage for the rapid spread of Christianity, driven by Jesus' final words to his apostles after the resurrection, the Great Commission.
Right. Matthew 28.
Matthew 28.19-20 quotes Jesus saying, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always until the end of the age."
So this wasn't just a spiritual directive, was it? It was a practical mission. Expand this new faith throughout the known world.
Absolutely. And central to this mission was Peter. Jesus had told him, "You are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church."
The rock foundation.
Exactly. The Acts of the Apostles portrays Peter as the most active missionary, venturing widely to evangelize, especially focusing on the Jews of Palestine and the Jewish diaspora.
While Paul became the apostle to the Gentiles, Peter was laying critical groundwork among those existing Jewish networks.
Now, here's where a truly remarkable historical turn comes into play, because the groundwork for this rapid spread of the gospel was actually laid decades before Christ's ministry.
By something completely unexpected.
By an entirely unexpected political maneuver. On August 9th, 48 BC, so 85 years before the Great Commission,
Wow.
the decisive battle of the Roman Civil War took place at Pharsalus in central Greece. Julius Caesar defeated Pompey the Great. Pompey subsequently fled to Egypt, and Caesar pursued him.
Okay, standard Roman history so far.
But upon landing in Alexandria, Caesar found himself in mortal danger. Pompey had already been murdered, and Caesar, with a relatively small force, was vastly outnumbered by, 20,000 Egyptian soldiers and 2,000 cavalry.
He was trapped, facing annihilation in a hostile city.
Exactly, and this is where Antipater the Dumain steps in. A relatively obscure local leader, but importantly, the father of Herod the Great.
Ah, that Herod.
That Herod. The Romano-Jewish historian Josephus records that Antipater brought 3,000 of the Jews, armed men, along with Arab and Syrian allies, and crucially rallied the large Jewish population of Alexandria to support Caesar.
So Antipater rescued Caesar.
Essentially, yes. His intervention was nothing short of history-changing. Caesar survived, marking the end of the Roman Republic and the effective beginning of Caesar's dictatorship, paving the way for the Roman Empire.
And Caesar rewarded Antipater.
He did, by naming him Procurator of Judea, giving birth to the Herodian dynasty, which, ironically, would later produce figures hostile to Christianity.
Right, but the immediate effect.
The immediate effect was profound for Judaism. By saving Caesar's life, Antipater influenced him to issue decrees extending religious freedom to the Jews of the diaspora throughout the Roman Empire. These edicts were later enforced by Augustus Caesar, giving Judaism the status of a religio licita, a permitted religion. This provided legal protection for their communities and practices across the empire.
That's monumental. Suddenly you have these free, vibrant, widely dispersed Jewish communities with established synagogues, legal protections.
Exactly, throughout the Roman Empire. And these communities, along with adjacent Gentile populations, became the perfectly primed targets for evangelization by Peter, Paul, and other early Christian missionaries carrying out the Great Commission.
So an ancient political maneuver, decades before Jesus even began his ministry, unexpectedly laid the perfect conditions for the rapid spread of the gospel.
It's almost as if history itself was strategically preparing the soil for this new faith. It's a remarkable sort of providential turn.
It provides essential context, doesn't it, for how a relic like the Shroud, if it existed then, could travel and influence these emerging communities moving along established routes. Speaking of early history and tracing the Shroud's path, one significant challenge we need to address is something called the discipline of the secret.
Ah, yes, the Disciplina Arcani.
This is an ancient church custom, right? Later formally labeled in the 17th century, where early Christian leaders deliberately used coded language, symbols, metaphors, allegories.
The goal being to make Christian tenets understandable only to advanced believers, protecting sacred knowledge from outsiders or potential persecutors.
Rooted in biblical teaching, like Matthew 7.6, do not give what is holy to dogs, or throw your pearls before swine.
Right. The early church would refer to Jesus as a fish, the Eucharist as honey, sweet food, baptism as a seal, things like that.
This practice intentionally obscured clear references to key objects and mysteries, including, quite plausibly, a relic as significant as the Shroud.
It meant its early history was harder to trace, hidden in plain sight, as it were, through allegorical language that only initiates would fully grasp. Think of it as a kind of spiritual cryptography.
And this very need for secrecy also points to the immense importance of Antioch, a city often called the cradle of Christianity.
Absolutely pivotal. After the martyrdom of Stephen in Jerusalem around 34 AD, Christians fleeing persecution sought refuge and settled in Antioch, Phoenicia, Cyprus.
And Antioch was huge, wasn't it? Third most important city in the Roman Empire.
After Rome and Alexandria, yes. Around 40 AD, under missionaries like Barnabas and Paul, it became the strategic base for missions that increasingly focused on Gentiles.
And after 70 AD, after Jerusalem's destruction,
it hosted the largest Christian community. It's where the term Christian was first coined.
Yeah.
Even St. Luke the evangelist was a native of Antioch and wrote his gospel in Acts there. It underscores its foundational role.
Okay, so given this context, we start to see these tantalizing early hints of the Shroud's existence, maybe Peter's connection to it.
There's the lost gospel of the Hebrews, possibly predating Matthew, quoted by St. Jerome around 40 AD. It notably states that Jesus confided the sin on the shroud to the servant of the priest.
And some interpret servant of the priest
as a veiled reference to Peter, often seen as the chief servant. It's a hint, presented very much in keeping with the discipline of the secret, designed to be understood only by the initiated.
and Peter's missionary work itself.
While less precisely datable than Paul's journeys, it offers further clues. His first epistle indicates wide travels: Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, Bithynia.
Right.
And the 5th or 6th century Syriac Doctrine of the Apostles confirms Peter laid the foundation of the church in Antioch, Syria, Cilicia, Galatia, and Pontus. If he indeed had custody of the shroud, these would be the very pathways it might have traveled.
So let's recap Peter's movements roughly. He supports founding the church in Antioch around 35 AD. Back in Jerusalem by 40, definitely by 42, when he miraculously escapes Herod Agrippa's arrest, leaves for another place. Maybe Rome.
Highly debated, but possible given the danger.
He returns for the pivotal Council of Jerusalem around 4950 AD, which accepts Gentiles without requiring the full Mosaic law.
A crucial decision for the church's future.
Then he's back in Antioch until around 5455 AD, leaves for a second journey to Rome, where tradition holds he was crucified under Nero around 6468 AD.
Extensive movements, deeply connected to key early Christian centers.
Which brings us to a particularly fascinating piece of text, Paul's letter to the Galatians, likely written around 5455 AD.
Ah, yes, Galatians 3.1.
Paul writes, "O stupid Galatians, who has bewitched you, before whose eyes Jesus Christ was publicly portrayed as crucified?"
Now, shroud scholars, including prominent figures like Paul Vignon back in the day, have long interpreted this not just as Paul being rhetorical,
but as something more literal.
as a reference to Peter using the shroud during his missionary work in Galatia, publicly exhibiting Christ to them, making his crucifixion vividly visible in a way words alone couldn't possibly convey.
A powerful visual aid in early evangelization. It's quite a thought.
It suggests a very different kind of early preaching, doesn't it?
Now, let's think about the shroud's potential departure from Jerusalem. If Peter had custody of it, it seems highly improbable he'd take it to Nero's Rome, especially with persecution starting around 64 AD.
Agreed. Too dangerous. He might have left it with the established church in Antioch, which seems logical. Or maybe, since Jerusalem had been relatively peaceful since Herod Agrippa's death in 44 AD, he entrusted it to James the Just, Jesus' relative and leader of the Jerusalem church.
But the situation in Jerusalem deteriorated rapidly, didn't it? James the Just was killed in 62 AD.
Yes, and open hostilities escalated between Jewish zealots and Roman rulers. This volatile environment led many Christians to flee the city between 68 and 70 AD, anticipating the coming conflict.
Taking precious community possessions with them, presumably.
You'd think so. Some undoubtedly found refuge in Antioch or other parts of Syria.
This flight aligns with a strong tradition reflected in the Sermon of Athanasius, a text ascribed to St. Athanasius, Bishop of Alexandria, around 328-373 AD, but importantly read at the Second Council of Nicaea in 787.
What does it say?
It states that in 68 AD, a full-length image of our Lord and Savior was taken from Jerusalem to Syria.
A full-length image.
And intriguingly, it claimed Jewish leaders had driven nails through its hands and feet, struck its head, and pierced its side, causing blood and water to burst forth.
Wounds strikingly reflective of those that appear on the shroud image itself.
Exactly. This tradition, whether you interpret it literally or as, highly coded language in keeping with the discipline of the secret.
It strongly suggests a vital relic. A full-body image of Christ bearing specific crucifixion marks was moved to safety.
Just before the final Roman siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD, led by Titus, which resulted in the city's sacking and the destruction of the Second Temple.
A devastating event. And Antioch, once again, would have been a prime destination for Christian refugees, potentially carrying this precious relic with them, securing its survival.
So what does all this point to for the shroud's journey? If Peter had it, or if it was with the Jerusalem church, the escalating dangers around 68 AD provided compelling reasons to move such a sacred object.
And Antioch, already a logical, well-established Christian hub, becomes the most probable destination for its new, safer home.
We've traced the shroud's possible initial movements, and now we plunge into a period characterized by intense persecution and, hidden truths. From 70 AD to 540 AD, the pre-Constantine era.
A challenging and dangerous time for early Christian communities, definitely. From Nero's attacks in 64 AD, for the next 2.5 centuries, Roman rulers either initiated or tolerated severe persecutions.
We're talking emperors like Domitian, Trajan, Hadrian, Marcus Aurelius.
And later, Septimius Severus, Decius Valerian, and the particularly brutal Diocletian, who, in 303, issued edicts ordering all church buildings destroyed and sacred texts burned.
The very existence of Christianity was constantly under threat.
And Antioch, that vital cradle of Christianity, was hard hit, producing martyrs like Bishop Ignatius, who was sent to Rome to be killed by wild beasts.
This constant threat meant any valuable relics, especially image-bearing ones that could be misinterpreted, would need to be kept meticulously hidden.
Absolutely. And further obscuring things, in 135 AD, Emperor Hadrian refounded Jerusalem as the pagan Aelia Capitolina.
Right, desecrating Christian and Jewish holy sites.
A pagan temple was built directly over Jesus' tomb. Even the crucifixion site was marked by a pagan shrine, attested by Eusebius and St. Jerome. This deliberate paganization made it incredibly difficult to trace original artifacts or locations.
Yet, amidst this chaos, a new center emerges, Edessa, a Mesopotamian kingdom. Significant around 190 AD thanks to King Abgar VIII, Abgar the Great.
During his peaceful reign, Christianity flourished there. A church built, Christian imagery on coinage, even a Christian synod held.
And this is where that fascinating historical deduction comes in about British King Lucius.
Ah, yes, the scholar Adolf Harnack's work. Earlier accounts mention a British King Lucius requesting baptism from Pope Eleutherius, but 2nd century Britain wasn't like that.
So Harnack deduced
That Britannia Res Lucio was actually a misreading of Bricio Edessanorum, referring to Edessa's citadel and King Abgar the Great of Edessa. This suggests a papal mission brought Christianity to Edessa at the king's invitation.
a pivotal moment for the Eastern Church, and the likely leader of this mission.
Aversis Marcellus, bishop of Phrygian Hierapolis, his inscription, datable to 192 AD, offers a metaphorical summary of his travels, written deliberately in a mystical and symbolic style, according to the discipline of the secret.
To conceal its Christian character from hostile eyes.
Exactly. What's truly fascinating is the inscription mentions Aversius being summoned by the Pope to Rome to see a queen goldy-robed and golden-sandaled.
Hypothesized to be Abgar VIII's wife, Shelmath, bringing the request for baptism.
Precisely. It then recounts Aversius traveling to Mesopotamia, seeing cities in Syria, including Antioch and Edessa, and most importantly, being provided a fish of exceeding great size, with wine of great virtue mingled with bread.
That's a compelling connection, isn't it? Given fish was a secret symbol for Christ.
Historian Jack Marquardt hypothesized this means Aversius took the shroud, displaying Jesus' body and bloodstains, from Antioch to Edessa to support Abgar's conversion.
And then returned it to Antioch after the mission.
That's the hypothesis. It's an elegant solution to the riddle of the inscription.
And there is further support from the Hymn of the Pearl.
Yes, a Gnostic poem from around 220 AD by Bardisan of Edessa, a friend of Abgar the Great. Also using the discipline of the secret, this text presents an allegory. Protagonist, Prince, Jesus, his robe, the shroud.
And the robe starts imageless.
But after his mission, the garment seemed to me like a mirror of myself. The image of the King of Kings was depicted in full all over it. This strongly supports the idea of the shroud being in Edessa and used for evangelization.
So if the shroud was indeed back in Antioch, the renewed persecutions from 190 to 306 AD, especially under Diocletian, would have compelled even stricter secrecy.
Absolutely. They'd have to keep any surviving burial linens concealed. This period also saw the rise of Arianism in Antioch, challenging the divinity of Christ. Along with existing iconoclast doctrines, prohibiting images as potentially idolatrous, these theological shifts would have further compelled secrecy around image-bearing relics like the shroud, lest they be seen as idols or become points of intense theological contention.
Now we enter the Constantine era, 306 to 361 AD, a period of truly immense transformative change.
Absolutely. Constantine the Great, the first Roman emperor to convert. The Edict of Milan in 313 AD legalizes Christianity, ending centuries of persecution.
A monumental shift, and he moves the capital.
From Rome to Byzantium, renaming it Constantinople in 324 AD, the heart of the burgeoning Byzantine Empire. This new Christian empire would have a profound impact on relics.
With imperial backing, Constantine orders the Church of the Holy Sepulchre built over Jesus' tomb in Jerusalem.
And his mother, Helen, also a convert, finds and appropriates numerous passion relics nails, pieces of the true cross for the empire.
This imperial appropriation, gathering relics into state hands, Sent a clear message, didn't it? Local churches needed to guard their own pearls.
Guard their relics and strictly enforce the discipline of the secret to prevent confiscation.
Yes. But despite Christianity being legal, the Arian controversy continued to rage,
Causing deep divisions. The First Council of Nicaea in 325 tried to settle it, but divisions persisted, especially in Antioch, leading to civil disorder.
So, ongoing theological tension, plus iconoclast sentiments, more reasons for secrecy around image-bearing relics like the Shroud.
Exactly. Protect them from political appropriation and theological dispute. Yet, amidst this, we find subtle textual evidence.
Like Theodore of Mopsuestia.
A native of Antioch, writing between 337 and 361 AD, he spoke of deacons spreading linens on the altar, representing the figure of the linen cloths at the burial. Suggests a visual understanding in liturgy.
And that sermon of Athanasius, again reiterating the tradition of a full-length body image with wounds matching the Shroud, moved from Jerusalem to Syria in 68 AD.
Which brings us to a critical period of concealment, the hiding of the Shroud in Antioch in 362 AD. Emperor Julian, the apostate, a pagan trying to restore paganism, visited Antioch.
And a fire struck the Temple of Apollo.
Julian blamed Christians, ordered the great cathedral closed, its treasures confiscated. But before that could happen,
An Arian presbyter named Theodorus hid the church's treasures.
yes, and the historian Gustavus Eisen records that Theodorus was subsequently executed rather than reveal the secret, shows the immense value placed on what he hid.
These figures included the Shroud.
It seems very likely. Consider, during Antioch's reconstruction after fires and earthquakes between 528 and 538, an awesome image of Christ, an object of particular veneration, mysteriously appeared near the Gate of the Cherubim.
Right.
Then, the Narratio de Imagine Edessina in 945, though about the Edessa image, described it being hidden centuries earlier in a wall niche above a city gate.
And historian Jack Marquardt suggests this Byzantine narrative confuses Antioch and Edessa events.
Relating to the Shroud's concealment in Antioch above the Gate of the Cherubim, yes, and there's compelling forensic evidence.
Well, water stains.
Exactly. Aldo Guerresi and Michele Salcito's 2002 paper showed the Shroud has distinct water stains consistent with it being folded and stored in an ancient jar for a prolonged period.
Precisely what you do of hiding it in a wall niche.
It marks a critical long period of the Shroud being completely concealed, a historical going dark.
Okay, so the Shroud is hidden, maybe sealed in a wall niche in Antioch. Now we move into the post-Constantine era, 363 to 528 AD, a time of schisms and eventually re-emergence.
Right. After Julian the Apostate's brief pagan reign ended, the throne reverted to an Orthodox emperor. In 380, Theodosius I made Orthodox Christianity the official religion, condemning Arianism, restoring the Golden Basilica in Antioch.
But new divisions soon emerged over Christ's nature, culminating in the Council of Chalcedon in 451 AD.
Which, unfortunately, led to lasting schisms. Many in the East felt its definition of Christ's two natures was too heavy-handed, too Hellenistic. This led to the separation of groups like the Monophysites and Nestorians from the Orthodox Melkites.
Deep, enduring divisions, even within Antioch.
Shaping the religious landscape for centuries. And during this long period, the only hints of an image archetype are subtle artistic clues.
Theodosian-era art, 370-410 AD, depicting Christ with shroud-like qualities.
Long, narrow face, long hair parted in the middle, medium-length beard. These shared visuals strongly suggest a powerful, perhaps hidden model was influencing Christian iconography.
But then, Antioch was hit by cataclysmic disasters.
Okay.
Fires in 525, massive earthquakes in 526 and 528.
Killing over 250,000 people, destroying nearly all buildings, Emperor Justinian financed a huge reconstruction over the next decade.
And coincidentally, during this reconstruction, St. Simeon Stylites the Younger had a vision.
A vision of Christ appearing on the old city wall near the Gate of the Cherubim, and the historian Glanville Downey documented that at the very same time and in that same area there appeared an image of Christ, an object of particular veneration.
An awesome image, strongly supporting the hypothesis that the Shroud, hidden in 362, was rediscovered during Reconstruction.
Bringing it back into public awareness. But its prominence was short-lived, tragically so.
June 540 AD, King Chosroes I of Persia sacks Antioch.
Utterly destroyed, population deported, and the image of Christ, just rediscovered and venerated, vanished once again from official records.
But one key event during this chaos was Patriarch Ephraimius' departure.
Yes. Marquardt and Downey propose he, a warrior bishop and head of the Byzantine treasury, wasn't fleeing in fear. They hypothesize he undertook an important mission to preserve invaluable church property.
Likely carrying the shroud to safety in Cilicia to the west.
His character, his past actions protecting church property, his later return, it all suggests a strategic move, not abandonment.
And it's precisely at this time, shortly after Antioch's fall, that the Greek word akouropoida appears.
Meaning, not made by human hands. First appeared referring specifically to two images of Christ, the image of Camuliana and the image of Edessa, a critical development in how these relics were understood as divinely created.
Let's delve into these akouropoida images, starting with the first, the image of God incarnate, 540 to 692 AD.
Right. Marquardt marshals compelling evidence that Ephraimius' important mission in 540 was indeed to carry the shroud to safety in Cilicia, entrusting it to Orthodox churchmen there.
And 9 years later, 554 AD.
A group of Orthodox priests publicly paraded an image of Jesus impressed upon linen throughout Cilicia and Cappadocia. This image became the very first in history to be called akouropoieta, signaling its extraordinary divine origin.
And almost simultaneously, around 550 AD, the prototype painting of the Christ Pantocrator icon appeared.
Pantocrator, meaning ruler of all. The oldest known example, found in 1962 at St. Catherine's Monastery, dated circa 550 AD, almost contemporaneous with the Cilician akouropoieton.
And art historian Hans Belting noted it wasn't invented by the painter.
He said it apparently reproduces a well-known original of the time, derived from a concrete model whose identity still is an open question. This is where the Shroud connection becomes compelling.
So what was that archetype? The Wanger's research.
Mary and Alan Wanger, using their polarized image overlay technique, like a super precise digital comparison tool, analyzed the congruence between the Pantocrator icon and the shroud.
And found
Over 150 points of congruence, far exceeding the 4560 needed for forensic ID. They concluded it's by far the most accurate non-photographic representation of the shroud image that we have seen.
plus Heinrich Pfeiffer's 5 spy elements linking Christ images to the shroud.
Wide space between cheek shares, displaced beard, asymmetrical mustache, possible forehead imprint mirroring shroud blood flow, one swollen cheek giving subtle asymmetry. All clearly visible on the Pantocrator icon, suggests direct copying.
And the artist even worked theology into the asymmetry.
Remarkable, isn't it? Left side, gentle savior, hand raised in blessing. Right side, severe judge, holding book of law, ruler of all. Sophisticated symbolism built upon a unique, pre-existing facial image.
Then, in 574 AD, this akouropoietic cloth from Cilicia Cappadocia was seized by the Byzantine emperor.
Taken to Constantinople. The official story was it came from the tiny village of Camuliana, a provenance that can't be verified. Likely a fabrication to obscure its true origin from Antioch, prevent reclamation. In Constantinople, it became known as the image of God incarnate.
And gained immense significance there, used as a military standard.
In 586 AD, General Philippikos used the facial portion as a model for an army palladium to inspire troops. Deployed again, famously, in 626 AD against the Avars besieging Constantinople, credited with helping repel them, solidified its reputation as a sacred protector.
But interesting how they promoted it.
Very. Despite the actual relic being a full-body image of a naked crucified Jesus, they consistently presented it as a triumphant, living Christ, robed, devoid of injuries.
Why the transformation?
Several reasons. Christian art at the time objected to stripping Christ. Imperial authorities wanted a powerful, God-protected capital image. Piety concerns about exploiting a holy object publicly in its original form, so they copied only the face, neck, shoulders, arms, hands, upper torso, no injuries onto standards and icons. A specific, sanitized image.
But knowledge of the full-length body image spread west. The Mozarevic Rite in Spain, 589 AD.
Yes, the Visigoth Church included a striking statement. Peter ran with John to the tomb and saw the recent imprints, vestigia, of the dead and risen man on the linens, remarkably specific.
Suggests knowledge of a body imprint. How?
Saint Leander, Bishop of Seville, is credited. He was in Constantinople 579-582, friends with Gregorius Anicius, future Pope Gregory the Great. Gregorius had court access, likely saw the image of God incarnate, probably shared knowledge of the recent imprints with Leander, who put it in the liturgy.
Ties into the broader tradition of the corporal linen in Mass.
Exactly. A tangible reminder of Christ's burial shroud, stated by Pope Sylvester, 4th C, and Thomas Aquinas, 13th C. The liturgy itself carries this ancient memory.
Fast forward to 692 AD. Emperor Justinian II mints the first Byzantine gold coin with Christ's face.
A groundbreaking move. And a numismatic study by Fanti and Malfi found 99.99% certainty the shroud was the model, echoing Vignat and Pfeiffer's spy characteristics.
And the really compelling part.
The coin depicts a subtle double fold in the cloth just below Christ's neck, a macro characteristic only visible on close inspection of the actual shroud cloth.
Suggests intimate access by the engraver. Couldn't get that from a distance or a copy.
A powerful piece of forensic congruence pointing to direct observation of the original cloth.
Okay, now let's turn to the second Acropoieta, the image of Edessa. Story spans roughly 325 AD to 943 AD. Edessa, northeast of Antioch, first kingdom to adopt Christianity.
Right. And the legendary story of King Abgar V's conversion and correspondence with Jesus, written by Eusebius around 325 AD, became famously widespread, even if likely apocryphal. Tells of Jesus sending an image of himself to cure King Abgar.
But, as we discussed, the later historical conversion of Abgar VIII around 190 AD, and the associated full-body image possibly brought by Aversius Marcellus.
Likely influenced and got incorporated into the older Abgar V legend, effectively blurring the original details which King Abgar which image.
This blurring continued. The Doctorate of Dye, Syriac text, c. 400 AD, first mentioned a painted image by Hanan in Abgar V's conversion.
This narrative over time gradually increased in sanctity. From painted to made with Jesus' assistance, finally venerated as wholly the work of Jesus himself, a true Acropoieta.
The image of Edessa gained a heroic reputation in 544 AD during the Persian siege.
A vagary Scholasticus, c. 590, recorded that an image of Christ of divine origin was credited with the city's victory, defending it miraculously.
And it is Vagarius himself who, around 590-593, formally gave it the Acropoieta designation.
Making it the second image recognized this way, cemented its reputation as wholly the work of Jesus himself. Its legend spread, often interwoven with elements that might have originally belonged to the shroud.
When Edessa fell under Muslim control in 639 AD, three rival Christian sects all claimed the true image of Edessa.
But crucially in Edessa, the cloth was always kept framed, revealing only a facial image. It was also unique, the only significant Christ icon not yet appropriated by the Byzantine emperor. This distinction becomes important.
Which brings us to iconoclasm in Byzantium, 711-943 AD, and that pivotal covenant with God.
A period of intense upheaval. When Emperor Justinian II was deposed in 711, some saw it as divine punishment for putting images of Jesus on coins, fueling anti-image sentiment.
Iconoclast doctrine, religious images could be idolatry.
Right. Then a series of natural disasters. Leo III's victory over Arabs, 717-718, seen as providential. Volcanic eruption, 726. Earthquake, 740, were interpreted as divine wrath against idolatry, fueled strong anti-image sentiment.
Emperor Constantine V, Leo III's son, was particularly strict. His decree.
He cannot be depicted. For what is depicted in one person has plainly circumscribed the divine nature which is incapable of being circumscribed.
That's incredibly precise language, isn't it? Almost sounds like he's describing an image like the shroud itself, which doesn't have a clear border, fades into the cloth, uncircumscribed. Is he arguing against the very existence of something like the shroud?
It's a fascinating insight, that specific word choice. The Council of Hieria in 754 institutionalized iconoclasm, stating, "The only true image of Christ is the bread and wine of the Eucharist." With the image of God incarnate, likely the shroud, already in the emperor's possession, it was essentially sealed away.
Yeah, and evidence for this hidden status comes from the Tarragon manuscript, 175-998.
Yes, looking back to Constantine V's time. It states the golden case containing the image of God incarnate is not shown to anyone except the emperor. Claims a heavenly vision revealed the city wouldn't be freed of ill until such time as the linen cloth with the Lord's face on it should be locked up and hidden away, and so it was done. Implies a profound spiritual necessity for concealment.
Historian Jack Marquardt interprets this as Emperor Constantine V making an imperial covenant with God.
That the image of God incarnate, the shroud, would be sealed away perpetually, reserved only for the emperor's viewing. Consign the shroud to 4.5 centuries of historical obscurity. A long silence.
And with the shroud hidden, references to the public image of Edessa became increasingly blurred with facts related to the hidden shroud.
Seems so. As early as 800 AD, the Latin Abgar legend described a full-body image. Jesus sends Abgar a linen on which you will discover not only the features of my face, but a divinely copied configuration of my entire body. Shows clear awareness of a full-body image, even if mistakenly attributed to Edessa.
Then, in 842 AD, icons were finally restored in Byzantium, the Feast of Orthodoxy.
still celebrated today. Around this time, the term mandilion seems first used uniquely for the image of Edessa, finally helping differentiate the public facial image from the hidden full-body one, perhaps a renewed clarity at court.
This distinction was tested in 943 AD, when Emperor Romanus I besieged Muslim-held Edessa specifically to capture the Mandilion.
After intense negotiation, the Byzantines successfully took the Orthodox Melkite version. This meant by 944, both Acura Poieta images, the hidden image of God incarnate, Shroud, and the captured Mandilion facial image, would soon be together in Constantinople, a significant consolidation of sacred power.
What a monumental moment. By August 15, 944 AD, the captured Mandilion arrives. Both primary Acura Poieta images, which emerged almost simultaneously in the 550s after Antioch's fall, now in the emperor's possession in Constantinople.
And the public welcome the next day, August 16th, was grand. Archdeacon Gregory of Hagia Sophia delivered a sermon describing the Mandilion's image as imprinted only by the sweat from the face of the ruler of life, falling like drops of blood, and by the finger of God.
Drops of blood. Even if about the Mandilion, might that description have been subtly influenced by knowledge of the Shroud?
It's possible. A year later, the Narratio di Immagine Edessina, a new history of the Abgar V legend, was commissioned. While confirming the Mandilion was facial, Marquardt suggests it further blurred histories, incorporating elements from the Shroud's Antioch concealment like being hidden in a wall niche into the Edessa legend, perhaps to enhance its sanctity.
Despite this blurring, there's explicit mention of the Shroud in 958 AD.
Unequivocal. Emperor Constantine VII Porphyrogenitos, in a letter, stated the empire's possession of the sacred linens, Seporva, the sindon which God wore, and other symbols of the Immaculate Passion. Sindon meaning fine linen fabric. Key direct evidence.
By 1164, a new iconographic image, the Threnos or Epitaphios, emerged.
Depicting Jesus lying on his shroud, often cradled by his mother, reflects widespread knowledge of a full-length body image in Byzantium, clearly distinct from the facial Mandilion.
Then we get to the incredibly detailed Cracode or Hungarian pre-manuscript, 1192-1195.
Housed in Budapest, contains images with striking spy elements matching the shroud. Clear forehead mark, naked body, arms crossed at wrists, long fingers, no visible thumbs.
Also the L-shaped burn holes, herringbone weave, red crosses for bloodstains.
Yes, and the angel in the lower panel points specifically to a swirl of cloth, possibly the binding strip.
Mechthild Fleury-Lemberg, the textile expert who led the 2002 preservation, stated,
"The painter of this picture must have seen the Shroud of Turin, otherwise it's not possible." A powerful, direct link, compelling visual evidence that someone with intimate knowledge was influencing Byzantine art.
And the source of this detailed information appears to be Bela III, future king of Hungary.
From 1164-1172, Bela was at the Byzantine court, even designated next emperor. This granted him extraordinary access, including viewing the hidden image of God incarnate the Shroud under the imperial covenant. He later provided the detailed info for the Codex, a crucial, verifiable chain of evidence.
Sadly, this imperial covenant was broken around 1200 AD by Emperor Alexius III Angelos.
Described as devoid of moral character. In a move with profound consequences, he released the image of God incarnate from its sacred concealment to the overseer of the imperial relic collection, made it publicly accessible for the first time in centuries.
In 1201, Nicholas Mesorites, the overseer, published an inventory. Described
burial syndones of Christ. These are of linen, wrapped to the uncircumscribed, fragrant with myrrh, naked body after the Passion. In this place, he rises again. Uncircumscribed, again explicitly pointing to the Shroud's borderless image. Reinforcing it was the full-body image.
And he clearly mentioned the Mandilion as smaller, not wrought by hand, facial image.
Making a clear distinction between the two.
So in 1201, both Acura Poieta are clearly described, seemingly more accessible. This brings us to the dramatic Fourth Crusade and the Shroud's mysterious disappearance, 1202-1204 AD.
This crusade, ironically aimed at Jerusalem, was notoriously diverted to Constantinople in 1202 to help restore a deposed emperor. By July 1203, the Crusaders were encamped outside, effectively besieging the city.
And during this tense time, we have the eyewitness account of Robert de Clary, French Crusader knight.
Invaluable. He stated that in 1203, he personally witnessed the Sidoins in which our Lord had been wrapped, displayed publicly every Friday in Blashnea, where the features of our Lord could be plainly seen.
And he also noted the Mandilion in the Pharos Chapel, again differentiating the full-body cloth from the facial image.
Clearly. Then came the devastating sack of Constantinople, April 12, 1204. The emperor failed to pay. Crusaders, driven by greed, brutally plundered the city. seizing treasures and relics indiscriminately.
And Robert de Clary's chilling conclusion.
And no one, either Greek or French, ever knew what became of the Sidonians after the city was taken. The dramatic, enigmatic beginning of the missing years.
This tragic event also had lasting impact. Exacerbated the 1054 East-West schism between Catholics and Orthodox persists today. Pope Innocent III was horrified
By what a Christian army had done to fellow Christians, a devastating blow to unity. The sack also significantly contributed to the Byzantine Empire's decline.
Following this disappearance, the memory of the lost Sidonians was strikingly preserved in Byzantium through the Man of Sorrows icon.
Also known as the icon of extreme humility. Its popularity increased significantly after the shroud disappeared, almost like a visual surrogate for the lost relic.
The oldest copies depict a dead but inexplicably upright Jesus.
Yes, the body reflects unique shroud features. Crossed arms at wrist, long fingers, hidden thumbs, blood flow from side wound. Often appears rising out of a box-like coffer, suggesting a memory of how it was displayed.
And modern empirical evidence links this icon directly to the shroud.
Physicist John Jackson's STURP team developed a computer program mapping prominent old fold lines on the shroud, visible in 1978 raking light photos. These folds match a lifting device used to raise the cloth from a box-like storage chest.
Strong empirical evidence the shroud was the true archetype for the icon, showing how the Sidonians once stood up straight for public viewing.
Exactly, and the artistic influence continues. The exaggerated abdominal area in these icons is hypothesized to be influenced by a prominent water stain on the shroud there.
Art historian Hans Belting connects the Man of Sorrows icon to the broader development of Passion art in the Renaissance.
Including Bellini's Pietà, Our Lady of Perpetual Help, even Michelangelo's Pietà. The reach is global. Even the oldest Christian art in the Americas, a 1539 feather painting from Mexico, reflects this tradition.
In 1205 AD, just a year after the sack, there's controversial but potentially convincing evidence the shroud went to Athens.
A letter from Theodore Angelos, Byzantine nephew to Pope Innocent III, protests the sack, explicitly stating the sacred linen in which our Lord Jesus Christ was wrapped was preserved by its predators in Athens.
Original lost, but a copy found in Naples is reputedly convincing, a crucial clue to its initial post-Crusade location.
Potentially, yes. Fast forward to 1238 AD, significant relics acquired by King Louis IX of France.
Between 1239 and 1242, he received 22 sacred relics from his cousin Baldwin II, Latin Emperor of Constantinople,
who was facing severe financial hardship, desperate to pawn off treasures from the plundered capital.
King Louis, devout, built the magnificent Sainte-Chapelle in Paris, consecrated 1248, specifically to house these relics, including a grand chasse with 10 locks.
And the Mandylion, the encased Edessa cloth with the facial image, was included in one shipment to France. Its ultimate fate during the French Revolution is disputed, though the crown of thorns survived.
And then, 1355 AD. After over a century of silence, the shroud makes its first undisputed public display in Europe, Lirey, France.
In the possession of the renowned French knight, Geoffrey de Charny, and his wife Jeanne de Vergy, Geoffrey, famed as the true and perfect knight.
Incredibly, in 1855, a medallion commemorating this 1355 event was found,
bearing an unmistakable reproduction of the shroud naked body, even the herringbone weave. Crucially, it shows the de Charny and de Vergy coats of arms, dating it precisely between their marriage, 1349, and Geoffrey's death, 1356. Powerful archaeological confirmation.
But here's the enduring enigma. Provenance. Neither Geoffrey nor Jeanne nor their descendants ever disclosed how they acquired it, only stated it was liberal or oblatum, freely given.
This persistent silence from a true and perfect knight known for honor remains a major mystery, planting several compelling hypotheses for the missing years, 1204-1355.
The Besançon hypothesis, currently the strongest,
points to Othon de la Roche, 1204 Crusader, Duke of Athens, an ancestor of Jean de Vergy. Hypothesized he carried the Sidonians from Constantinople to his home near Besançon, France.
Why the silence?
Pope Innocent III's stern warnings against looting selling relics, plus Othon's personal scrape with the Pope over finances, provided strong motivation for multi-generational silence. Intriguingly, a wooden casket in Resurson de la Roche territory has a modern label claiming it preserved the shroud from Constantinople.
Then the Sainte-Chapelle hypothesis, from Mario Latendresse,
suggests the Mandylion given to Louis IX was actually the shroud kept in Sainte-Chapelle, later secretly given to de Charny by King Philip VI to avoid scandal. Evidence. A pre-revolution inventory showing the Mandylion reliquary empty. Implies the Mandylion might still exist.
And finally, Ian Wilson's Knights Templar hypothesis, more tentative.
Based on Templar veneration of Christ's holy face and Templar copies echoing shroud features. Posits the shroud was secretly held by the order. The mysterious Templecum panel, found in an old Templar preceptory WWI, offers a fascinating hint, but direct documentary evidence linking the shroud to Templars is lacking.
Of these, Besançon remains the most supported by documents. So the shroud is now in Europe, publicly displayed in Lirey. But this public appearance quickly led to scrutiny, and it also survived a major fire.
Almost immediately. In 1389, Pierre d'Arcis, Bishop of Troyes, drafted a memo never officially sent, claiming his predecessor heard a cunning artist painted it.
Regardless of truth, perhaps genuine concern about false relics or the power of an uncontrolled relic outside church authority.
Possibly, marks early, significant skepticism appearing almost as soon as it came to public light in Europe.
Then, December 4th, 1532, major fire at the church in Chambéry, France, where it was kept, now with the House of Savoy.
Caused damage from melting silver reliquary metal and water. But amazingly, the delicate image itself was hardly touched, largely surviving.
2 years later, 1534, the Poor Clare nuns undertook crucial preservation.
Meticulously sewed patches over fire-damaged areas, carefully attached the Holland backing cloth to stabilize it. By this time, 1453, the shroud had officially passed to the House of Savoy.
In 1578, it found its permanent home, moved to Turin, capital of the House of Savoy.
Where it has remained ever since, cementing its identity, the Shroud of Turin.
Then came 1898, a truly pivotal year. Secondo Pia, amateur photographer, got permission to take the first photographs.
When he developed the negatives, utter shock. His negatives, reversing light and shadow, for the first time revealed the extraordinary, lifelike, positive image of the man, a discovery that ignited global interest and intense scientific curiosity.
A paradigm shift. This faint, ghostly image, barely discernible, became incredibly vivid in negative form.
Early French scientists like Vigneault and Delage championed its authenticity based on Pia's photos, but faced considerable ridicule. The old D'Arcis memo was mobilized against their arguments as proof of forgery.
Another crucial piece of context arrived in 1968. New crucifixion evidence from archaeology.
The skeletal heel bone, with a 7-inch spike still through it, found in a 1st-century Jerusalem tomb, belonged to a man named Yehochanan.
Monumental discovery. Helped settle a long debate. Skeptics claimed Roman crucifixion victims wouldn't get proper Jewish burials, bodies left to rot.
But Yehochannan's heel bone was irrefutable evidence of a crucified man from Jesus' day who was permitted Jewish burial. Directly supported the gospel accounts of Joseph of Arimathea. Changed assumptions.
This leads us to 1978 and the groundbreaking Shroud of Turin research project, STURP.
Literally born at the United States Air Force Academy. In 1976, physicists John Jackson and Eric Jumper, using a VP8 image analyzer,
A sophisticated device translating light intensity into height depth.
confirmed unique three-dimensional information encoded in the shroud image, not just flat, like a topographical map of a body, unlike any known artistic creation.
In October 1978, the STURP team, large, diverse group of American scientists, went to Turin, conducted the most extensive hands-on study ever.
5 intense days, 247, examining it with tons of specialized equipment. Microscopy, spectrometry, radiography, thermography, extensive photography, collecting samples.
So the official conclusions, 1981 were profound.
Right.
Revolutionary, really, first.
Unequivocally, no pigments, paints, dyes, or stains have been found on the fibrils. Directly precludes the possibility of paint being used.
Second.
Confirmed. Unique, three-dimensional information encoded in the image. Still defies simple explanation.
Third.
Concluded. It is clear that there has been a direct contact of the shroud with the body, explains scourge marks as well as the blood.
But then came the profound paradox, the scientific enigma.
The basic problem is that some explanations, which might be tenable from a chemical point of view, are precluded by physics. Contrariwise, certain physical explanations are completely precluded by the chemistry. It's like science saying, we know what it isn't, but we still don't know what it is.
So their ultimate conclusion, definitive and humbling.
No chemical or physical methods known which can account for the totality of the image, nor can any combination explain the image adequately. They famously stated, the shroud image is that of a real human form of a scourged, crucified man. It is not the product of an artist. The blood stains are composed of hemoglobin and also give a positive test for serum albumin. The answer to how the image was produced remains now, as it has in the past, a mystery.
In 1983, the shroud received new, highly significant custody. Umberto II, last king of Italy, formally deeded it to the Holy See.
Meaning it now officially belongs to the Pope. ensuring its care and protection by the highest church authority.
This change unwittingly set the stage for one of the most controversial moments, the radiocarbon dating in 1988.
A small sample cut from one corner for testing at 3 labs. Results announced October 13, 1988, dated the linen to between 1260 and 1390 AD.
Suggesting a medieval origin, aligning with its first documented appearance in Lirey.
This immediately led to dark clouds gathering. Skeptics felt vindicated. For a period, it entered a kind of kenosis, self-emptying from public view and interest.
As if mirroring Christ's self-renunciation. Seemed to many the mystery was solved. Medieval fake.
However, the story doesn't end there. Subsequent research has raised serious questions about the validity of that 1988 dating, specifically regarding the sample location possibly being a medieval repair.
Then, in 2002, a comprehensive shroud preservation project was discreetly approved by Pope John Paul II.
Reasons were practical: concern over stress from old stitching clutches, acidic char from the 1532 fire eroding the back and migrating particles.
Interventions were extensive, meticulous, original patchachar removed, Holland backing unstitched removed, shroud delicately vacuumed, new spectrophotometry high-def photos taken of both sides.
Finally, a new protective linen backing stitched in place.
But this project drew criticism.
Severe and justified criticism for lack of broad consultation with various scientific, historical, archaeological disciplines. Many felt important aspects of the archaeological site, that is, the Shroud of Turin, were adversely disturbed.
Like lost fold artifacts, scraped debris with potential forensic significance.
Exactly. The critical lesson learned. A strong recommendation the shroud be formally recognized as an archaeological site, requiring broad, multidisciplinary oversight for all future preservation. Ensure no potential evidence is inadvertently lost.
So where is the shroud today? Despite controversies, the scientific community worldwide continues intense study. Numerous papers, symposiums annually, revisiting data, new hypotheses.
Yet for most people, it remains virtually unexamined and unknown in any detail except for its familiar name, the Shroud of Turin.
Today, it's meticulously stored flat in a high-tech reliquary. Dark, argon-filled, climate-controlled vault in Turin Cathedral.
A second high-tech reliquary allows for vertical public expositions, which happen only rarely. Protected, continuously studied, still provoking profound questions.
What an incredible journey we've taken. Through centuries of history, exploring the shroud's past from ancient burial cloths, through apostolic age whispers, hidden years during persecutions and iconoclasm.
Its traumatic reemergence in Constantinople, mysterious disappearance, reemergence in Europe, finally facing modern science's intense scrutiny.
From the earliest metaphorical references to the astonishing STURP data, the shroud consistently presents as an image of a scourged, crucified man.
An image still defying simple artistic explanation, leaving an enduring scientific puzzle. The fact it reveals unique 3D info, lacks brushstrokes, keeps the debate alive, the curiosity burning, even with the controversial carbon dating adding complexity.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Consider this. In an age saturated with images where everything can be manipulated or instantly fact-checked,
the Shroud of Turin remains a powerful anomaly.
it forces us to confront not just its own enigma, but the broader human need to connect with history, with belief, with the very limits of our current understanding.
What does it say about us that an object provoking such profound scientific and historical inquiry can still, after all this time, hold its secrets so close?
And what will future generations discover if we commit to preserving this truly unique historical and scientific archaeological site with the broad multidisciplinary care it demands?